So hello everyone. So in today's video we will be doing a quick revision on British literature. So I have brought some MCQs for you. So these are some of the most repeatedly asked question on any exam related to English literature. So stay tuned till the end, and then यहाँ पे जितना भी MCQs है those are extremely important, and then there are some section of questions जिसमें I won't be consuming much of your time because those are fact based, but there are some question जहाँ पे आपको थोड़ा time लेके explain करेगा because those are extremely important, right? So let's start. So the first question says, who wrote the wasteland, right? So see, who wrote the wasteland important नहीं है because यहाँ पे everybody knows कि यहाँ पे wasteland कौन लिखा है, right? Because this is written by T.S. Eliot. So यहाँ पे what we will learn is जो important fact होता है जो exam point of view से important है, right? So T.S. Eliot जो लिखा है wasteland को, and then T.S. Eliot is also a Nobel laureate. He got Nobel Prize in the year 1948, and then this work, The Wasteland, was published in 1922, and then it is divided into 5 sections. The first section is the burial of the dead, second is game of the chess, third is the fire sermon, the next is death by water, and then the last is what the thunder said, right? So these are the 5 sections of the wasteland. But what you have to remember about this 5 section is which is the longest section, right? Okay, longest section is the fire sermon. The fire sermon, right? So remember this title is taken from Buddha's sermon. बुद्धा सरमन, राइट? ये बुद्धा का सरमन से लिया गया है, ये जो टाइटल है ये आपको याद रखना है. एंड देन दिस सेक्शन ओपन्स विद थेम्स रिवर. ओके, ये थेम्स रिवर के साथ में ओपन होता है. एंड देन ये लॉन्गेस्ट सेक्शन है आपका वेस्टलैंड का. सो विच वन इज़ द शॉर्टेस्ट सेक्शन? Shortest section is your death by water. Death by water, right? So ये आपका सबसे छोटा वाला सेक्शन है. एंड देन यहाँ पे ये किसका बारे में बात करता है? Here he talks about the person who was drowned in the sea and then his body was consumed by the sea. So that very character is none other than Phlebas. प्लेबस, राइट? ही वॉज अ पर्सन जो ड्राउंड हो जाता है. सो ये इसका बारे बात करता है ये सेक्शन में. तो दिस इज़ अ पोएम विच यू डेफिनेटली गो थ्रू एंड देन यू हैव टू हैव अ डिटेल एनालिसिस ऑन दिस पोएम बिकॉज वेस्टलैंड इज़ एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट? एंड देन वेस्टलैंड जो इसका ओपनिंग लाइन होता ओपनिंग मंथ होता है अप्रैल से. ओके, ये इसको याद रखना है आपको. और एक क्वेश्चन है वेस्टलैंड में कि इन विच पोम ऑफ T.S. Eliot हैज़ अ रेफरेंस ऑफ लंदन ब्रिज इज फॉलिंग डाउन, राइट? सो इट इज़ इन द वेस्टलैंड. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. ओके, कॉल मी इश्माइल इज़ द ओपनिंग लाइन ऑफ विच अमेरिकन नॉवल, राइट? सो कॉल मी इश्माइल जो है कौन सा नॉवल का ओपनिंग लाइन है? तो ये है आपका द ओल्ड मैन एंड द सी, राइट? इट इज़ रिटन बाय अर्नेस्ट हेमिंगवे. अर्नेस्ट Hemingway. This person is also a Nobel laureate. He got Nobel Prize in 1954 for this very work, Old Man and the Sea. So this you have to remember. And then this very novella was published in 1950. You have to remember Old Man and the Sea is not a novel, it is a novella, okay? It is a shorter story. It is not a lengthy story like a novel, right? So in this, the work, it talks about an old man whose name was Santiago. So he spends 84 days in the sea, without catching any fish. So बाद में ये जो है fish catch करता है, लेकिन वो he couldn't bring the entire body, right? He could just bring the skeleton. So this you have to do in very detail. So it is important. Okay, next question. Okay, next question is, who is the author of Paradise Lost, right? So it is John Milton. So Paradise Lost is an epic. It has 12 books, and then it was initially published in 1667, and then in the year 1674 यहाँ पे पूरा 12 books पूरा published हो गया था. Okay, and then it is epic because it has a biblical theme and it's fall of man. क्योंकि ये जो थीम है ये बाइबल से लिया गया. फॉर दैट रीज़न ये आपका एपिक जॉनर में भी काउंट होता है, ये आपको याद रखना है. एंड देन आपको याद रखना है कि यहाँ पे मिल्टन जो है 4 बार म्यूज़ को इन्वॉक करता है. ओके, तो आप उसको कैसे याद रखिएगा, एक ट्रिक है 1379. ओके, 1379 कैसे आपको याद रखना है, वो जो बुक 1, बुक 3, बुक 7 और बुक 9 में क्या करता है, वो जो म्यूज़ को इन्वॉक करता है. ओके, एंड देन आपको और एक बार बता दूँ, यहाँ पे ये जो पैराडाइज लॉस्ट है, ये जो है किससे इंस्पायर था, ये जो है वर्जिल का एनियत से भी कहीं ना कहीं ये इन्फ्लुएंस था, राइट. विच इज़ वाई ये जो क्या किया, जो जॉन मिल्टन था, ये जो है जो बुक नंबर 7 है और बुक नंबर 9 है, इसको वो जो है हाफ पब्लिश किया. ओके, सो इन द ईयर 1667 वो जो क्या करता है, वो पूरा बुक को पब्लिश करता है, बट ये जो बुक नंबर 7 और जो 9 है ना, इसको वो हाफ पब्लिश करता है. उसके बाद वो फुल पब्लिश कब करता है, 1674 में. तो यहाँ पे आपका पूरा 12 बुक्स पब्लिश होता है. तो आपको याद रखना है, ऐसा नहीं है कि मिल्टन हैज़ रिटन 10 books and he has published it on 1667 and then the rest of the book was published in 1674. No, it was जो बुक नंबर 7 और 9 है उसको वो हाफ पब्लिकेशन किया था, एंड देन फुल पब्लिकेशन कब करता है, इन द ईयर 1674. एंड देन ही वांटेड टू फॉलो द स्टाइल ऑफ दिस वेरी पर्सन, विच इज़ वाई ही हैज़ फॉलोड दिस थीम. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Okay, so in which novel does Elizabeth Bennet appear, right? So Elizabeth Bennet is a fictional character which you will be getting to see in the work of Jane Austen. And John Austen was a romantic prose writer. Romantic prose, वो जो रोमांटिक प्रोज लिखता था. एंड देन आपको जो ये कैरेक्टर है ना, एलिजाबेथ बेनेट का, ये आपको मिलेगा प्राइड एंड प्रेजुडिस. ओके, एंड दिस नॉवल वॉज पब्लिश इन 1813. ओके, और एक चीज़ आपको बता दूँ, जो जेन ऑस्टिन है ना, इसका जो एक बहुत पॉपुलर क्वेश्चन होता है, इसका जितना भी नॉवल है आपको उसको क्रोनोलॉजिकली आपको पूछता है. तो आई हैव क्रिएटेड द निमोनिक्स फॉर इट. ये मेरा अपना निमोनिक्स था विच आई हैव यूज्ड इन मेनी ऑफ माई प्रिपरेशन. तो आपको भी आई वांट टू शेयर इट विथ यू ऑल ऑल्सो. सो आप इसको ऐसे कीजिए, एस पी मैन. ओके, एस पी मैन, इसको आप याद रखिए तो आपका क्रोनोलॉजिकली हो जाएगा. तो एस से क्या है आपका, सेंस एंड सेंसिबिलिटी, राइट. पी से क्या है आपका, प्राइड एंड प्रेजुडिस. एम से क्या है आपका, मैंसफील्ड फार्म. ई से क्या है आपका, एमा, राइट. एन से क्या है, नॉर्डनगर्ड एबे. ओके, एंड द लास्ट आपका आता है परसुएशन. तो इसको आप याद नहीं रखने से भी हो जाएगा, क्योंकि आपको यह पता है कि ये पोस्टह्यूमसली पब्लिश हुआ था. एंड देन ये अगर इसको आप याद रखते हैं तो यू डोंट हैव टू रिमेंबर परसुएशन, बिकॉज ये क्रोनोलॉजी के लिए आ जाएगा. तो इट इज़ क्वाइट ऑब्वियस दैट इट विल बी अपियरिंग इन द लास्ट सेक्शन ऑफ ऑल दिस नॉवल, राइट. सो याद रखिए एस पी मैन. ओके, एस पी मैन, दिस इज़ अ निमोनिक, जिसका वजह से हमको भी याद रहता है जो भी एग्ज़ाम आता है. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Okay, who wrote A Passage to India, right? So Passage to India is a beautiful work written by E.M. Forster. Okay, so E.M. Forster, what he has, in this work he has spoken about the clashes between British and Indian culture, right? So it's a very beautiful novel. I think you should read about it. You should go in the very detail. Okay, and this novel was published in 1924. This you have to remember. ओके, एंड देन यहाँ पे जितना कैरेक्टर्स है एंड देन वॉट एवर द थीम्स इट हैज़, यू हैव टू रिमेंबर एवरीथिंग. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. In which Indian author wrote the guide, right? So I won't be discussing much on it because ये topic में I have given a multiple lecture, especially ये YouTube platform में it is available. आप जाइए Indian literature type कीजिए and then वहाँ पे आपको ये writer का बारे detail analysis मिल जाएगा, right? So it was written by R.K. Narayan in the year 1958 and 1960 में उसको साहित्य अकेडमी मिला था. And then the protagonist is Raju. Okay. Next, The Road Not Taken is a poem by. So it's a poem by American writer Robert Frost. Okay. Okay. Next question. Which Shakespeare play deals with jealousy? Okay, jealousy is a very common theme, in Shakespeare's play. But एक play है जिसमें jealousy is the main theme. So that work is Othello. Okay, The Moor of Venice. So the setting is of course Venice, and then it talks about Othello, एंड देन यू नो एंड देन ओथेलो का बारे यहाँ पे बात करते हैं. तो ओथेलो क्या हो जाता है कि एक विलन होता है इयागो. इयागो इयागो बोल के एक विलन होता है. ये जो है इसको इतना ब्रेन वॉश कर देता है कि लास्ट में ही एंड अप किलिंग द हीरोइन ऑफ द प्ले विच इज़ डेस्डेमोना. सो इयागो जो है ही वॉज वो उसका ऊपर इतना मैनिपुलेट कर देता है. तब बाद में क्या हो जाता है कि ओथेलो जो है आउट ऑफ जेलेसी एंड देन आउट ऑफ मैनिपुलेशन ही किल्स डेस्डेमोना एंड देन यहाँ पे प्ले ख़त्म हो जाता है. तो ये जो भी प्ले है इट रिवॉल्व्स अराउंड द मेजर थीम ऑफ जेलेसी, राइट. और एक चीज़ यहाँ पे बता दो, इयागो को क्या बोलते हैं? मोटिवलेस विलन. मोटिवलेस विलन. ओके, ये भी एक PYQ है आपका. विच विलन ऑफ शेक्सपियर इज कॉल्ड द मोटिवलेस विलन? सो इट इज़ इयागो. ओके ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Who is considered the father of English poetry? So father of English poetry, father of English literature, it is called Geoffrey Chaucer. Okay okay, next question. In which year was Midnight's Children published? So Midnight Children is a work written by Salman Rushdie, and he has published this work in 1981. Okay, and then this has won Booker Prize also, and it has also won Booker of the Booker Prize in the year 1994. Okay, this you have to remember. Okay, next question says, who wrote Leaves of Grasses? So Leaves of Grasses is written by American writer Walt Whitman, and he is also called the father of free verse, right? So this you have to remember. And it was published in 1985. Oh sorry, it was published in 1885. Next question. The character Hester Prynne appears in which work? So Hester Prynne is a protagonist of the novel The Scarlet Letter. Okay, and then The Scarlet Letter was published in 1850, and then it is a historical novel which has the backdrop of Puritan age, and then the word A plays a significant role here, because initially it was linked with adultery and later it will be angel in the beginning of the novel, right? So these are the facts that you have to remember. Next question is, beauty is truth beauty appears in which poem? So this is a famous ode by John Keats, which was composed in 1819. This is also considered as one of the most glorious age of John Keats. And then beauty is truth beauty, this line appears in the work in the ode to a Grecian urn, right? So Grecian urn क्या है? It's a Greek vase. आपको एग्जाम में पूछ लेते हैं कि ये जो ग्रेशियन अर्न है ये क्या है. सो ये एक ग्रीक वास है जिसको कीट्स जो है ग्लोरीफाई करता है अबाउट द ब्यूटी ऑफ द ग्रीक वास. ओके, एंड वेस्ट विंड तो आपको पता है, इट्स अ पोम रिटन बाय P.B. Shelley. Ode to a Skylark, it is poem by William Wordsworth, and The Solitary Rapper is a poem by it's a poem by Wordsworth only. Okay, next. Who among the following is a post-colonial Indian writer? Okay, talking about R.K. Narayan, he was written during the pre-independence. Okay, and then talking about Sarojini Naidu, he was also writing during the pre-independence era. He was not writing during the post-colonial India. So Toru Dutt, he is a 19th century writer, so ये तो नहीं हो सकता है. तो it is Salman Rushdie, because he was writing after the post independence. So these type of writers were called post colonial Indian writer. Okay, next. Which novel begins was it was best of the time and it was the worst of the time? सो सी सबसे पहली बात तो ऐसे वर्ड को ये कौन सा पोइटिक डिवाइस में आता है. इट वॉज द बेस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, इट इज़ द वर्स्ट ऑफ द टाइम. सो द रिपीटेशन ऑफ सेंटेंसेस गोइंग ऑन इन द लाइन, राइट. सो इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं एनापोरा, राइट. ओके, सो दिस अपीयर्स इन द नोवेल A Tale of Two Cities. A Tale of Two Cities is a novel written by Charles Dickens, and it talks about two cities, which is France and London, right. And this is it talks about, it has a backdrop of French Revolution. It has a backdrop of French Revolution. Okay, next question. Who wrote Waiting for the Godot? Okay, so Waiting for the Godot, it is a famous work, or it is a famous play written by Samuel Beckett. So this work was published in the year 1952, and it is divided into two parts, and then it comes under the absurd theater work. And then in this very play, you will be getting to see famous characters like Vladimir, Estrogen, and Pozo, right. So you have to remember, Vladimir will be called Didi in the entire play, and then Estrogen will be called Gogo. Okay, Gogo. And then Pozo क्या था? He was the servant. and जो गोडो था, जिसको इन लोग वेट कर रहा था, ही नेवर अपीयर्ड. ओके, सो दिस इज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वर्क. ये बार बार एग्जाम में भी पूछता है, आप लोग इसको देख लीजिए डिटेल में. नेक्स्ट वर्क. Which American author coined the lost generation? Okay, so first of all, lost generation is a term. It was initially a French word. Okay, so बाद में इसको इंग्लिश में टर्न करके बोला था lost generation. By whom? It was coined by Gertrude Stein. इसको Gertrude Stein जो coin किया था, and then वो कहाँ से इसको popularize किया है, lost generation को, because they were writing during the World War period, right. So ये जो 1920s का जो era था, इसको बोलते हैं आपका lost generation. Okay, but ये जो term है, even though it was coined by Gertrude Stein, it was popularized by none other than Ernest Hemingway. Okay, Ernest Hemingway has popularized this term in his work The Sun Also Rises. Okay, ये आपको याद रखना है. Ernest Hemingway has popularized this term, The Sun Also Rises में इसको popularize किया है, and then this novel was published in 1926. Okay, next question. Who wrote the novel Kantapura? So I have spoken about this work ample of time, right. So Kantapura was published in 1938, and it was written by Raja Rao. Okay, next question. Who wrote the Rape of the Lock? So Rape of the Lock was written by Alexander Pope, right, and he was a neoclassical writer. इसको भी याद रखिए. And then Rape of the Lock was it was published in three sections. First में it was published in 1772, 1774, and then 1776, plus speech by Clarissa, right. This you have to remember. And then यहाँ पे जो Belinda होता है, Belinda is the protagonist, right. And then उसका जो dog होता है, उसका नाम होता है शॉक. ये सब आपको याद रखना है, ठीक है. Okay, next. The poem begins with Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright. So Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright is a starting poem of, obviously, the poem The Tiger, and it was written by William Blake. Okay, and about William Blake, you have to remember, he was proto-romantic as well as he was writing in the Victorian age also. So आपको ये बात याद रखना है. Next question. Who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, right? So To Kill a Mockingbird is written by Harper Lee. Okay, next question. Okay, who wrote The Goat of Small Things? So Goat of Small Things is a work by an Indian author, Arundhati Roy, and then she has published it in 1996, and then she has won Booker Prize for this work. She has won Booker Prize for this very work, and then it is set in Kerala. Okay, it talks about the fraternal twins, and it is divided into 21 sections. Next, which poet is linked with art for art's sake, right? So art for art's sake जो क्या है, ये भी एक फ्रेंच वर्ड है, no, this is a French word. इसका फ्रेंच में भी एक वर्ड है which I am not able to recall it right now. So it will be later, inspired by the British writers, and then they will be applying this very term with their movement also. So it was popularized with the movement called aestheticism movement. And then the theme was liberal art. मतलब कि जो art है, it has to be liberal, it should not be bounded, it should not be bounded with the classical rules, it has to have that independent theme, right? So it talks about that. So this was a term associated with Oscar Wilde. Okay, so Oscar Wilde was the person who was deeply associated with art for art's sake. Okay, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, appears in. So the full line is, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have certain promises to keep, miles to go before I sleep, miles to go before I sleep, right? So this is a famous line from Stopping by Woods. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Frost. Okay, next. Who wrote The Tempest? Okay, so who wrote The Tempest? So obviously it is William Shakespeare, right? Okay, who is the protagonist of The Tempest? Who is the heroine of The Tempest here? It is Miranda, right? Okay, next. Who is the protagonist of The Great Gatsby? Okay, so Great Gatsby, it was published in 1925. It is written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and then the protagonist of the novel is Nick Carraway. Nick Carraway is the protagonist of the novel The Great Gatsby. Who is the author of Train to Pakistan? So Train to Pakistan is a beautiful work written by Khushwant Singh. Okay, this novel was published in 1956, and it is a partition novel. Okay, next. That not be proud is a line from. So that not be proud is a line from John Donne's sonnet. John Donne's sonnet. He has called the sonnet as Holy Sonnet. It was published in 1633, and it celebrates the power of death, no? And he has written total 19 sonnet. This you have to remember. And then he has called his sonnet as Divine Meditation. Okay, this you have to remember, because this was also a PYQ on net exam, that John Donne has called his sonnet as, so it was Divine Meditation. Okay, and he has written total 19 sonnet. Okay, in which he has talked about songs, love, and he has also spoken about death, no? So this line, it glorifies the power of death. Okay, so this is a work by John Donne. Okay, next, which American writer wrote Beloved? Right, so Beloved is a very touching, it's a very touching novel. When you read the novel, there's a chances that you might feel very emotion, because it has a theme of mother-daughter relationship, and then it explores the theme of slavery also, right? So it's a novel written by Toni Morrison, and you have to remember she was the first black writer to receive Nobel Prize. Okay, next. Who wrote The Alchemist play? Okay, यहाँ पे एक चीज़ ध्यान दीजिए, यहाँ पे प्ले इसीलिए बोला है क्योंकि अल्केमिस्ट एक नॉवल भी है. ओके, सो अल्केमिस्ट नॉवल was written by Paulo Coelho. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or wrong, but I'm, it's Paulo Coelho. And then it is, The Alchemist play is written by Ben Jonson. Okay, so this is one of the most famous play of Ben Jonson. It was, it was staged on 1610, and then it's a comedy play. And then it talks about the character Santiago. Okay, so he was a shepherd, and then he wanted to go out of his village, and then he wanted to explore his dream. So the entire play revolves around the life of Santiago, where he wished to study somewhere, and then he wanted to make his parents proud, right? But what happens at the end, that you have to go through the play, and you have to get the idea of the entire play. So this is the only information that I can share with you, because the video ज़्यादा long हो जाएगा. So this is it for today's video. Thank you for watching my video till the end.